All right, let's talk about the Soledad Corridor Plan and other Canyon Country projects. You might remember last month when we talked about going to the public outreach meeting. And it was going to be about the Soledad Canyon Road Corridor. And it was at the Joanne Darcy Library in Canyon Country. And they had a really good turnout. I thought the meeting was well staffed and well attended. And we had quite a few folks there. Merle was there, Berta was there, Rick was there, I was there. Who else? Anybody else was there? Yeah, well, that's right, Judy was there. So there were quite a few of us, and what they did was they had a lot of staff there, and they ringed the room with charts there, and they gave us all red and green sticky dots, and said, go ahead and put these on. If you like this area, put a green one on. If you don't like the area, put a red one on. And it was really good, except I had dots before my eyes before it was over because there were just tons of these things. Saw Dave Peterson, I put a green dot on him. He was a good guy. So anyway, I thought it was a great theme, and I was really happy to see it. And their theme was, and we've heard this now a couple of times, they want to involve as many residents as possible in establishing this plan. I thought that's really cool. So I made the suggestion. I said, well, you know what? If you really want to engage as many people as you can, I'll get you a slot at the November Canyon Country Advisory Committee meeting. What do you think? You can show up and you can talk to the group and get it on YouTube and let hundreds of people see it. And the staff was receptive. The staff all said, hey, that's really great. But they needed to get city management approval. So I understood that. I mean, I knew that when I asked the question. So I said, you know what, I'll go coordinate with Tom Cole and we'll request a presentation. And so I did. I went to see Mr. Cole and Mr. Striplin. And to my surprise, at first they said, we don't have anybody available. And so I questioned that, and they said, well, it's really not the reason. And it's too close to election time. So I went, well, I don't understand that. This is not an election issue. This is, you to go do outreach. And then they said to me something I thought was real interesting. Because I told them, I'm just going to go back to the group and repeat whatever you say to me. Right? And I think that's reasonable. Right? They didn't want me to do that. They said, you know what, if you tell them that, it'll send the wrong message to them. That's them. So then they got a request from the Chamber of Commerce and the Canyon Country Business Association. It used to be called the Canyon Country Merchants Association, but they didn't think that sounded high class enough, so they changed the name the other week. And they called me and said, you know what you should do? Why don't you reschedule your meeting for Thursday the 14th at 10 a.m.? And I said, I don't think I can do that. That's just not reasonable. And so it was at College of the Canyons, and I decided that no matter what, I was going to go. And when I went, this is their presentation. I said, well, I thought I'll bring their presentation to you. You can see what message you think they're sending. And we'll let it go. And just to show you that they reached a lot of people there, it was attended by about 6 Canyon Country Business Association members. They had 4 COC representatives, but it was at COC. And they had 3 Sacreta staff members, and Terry Crane from the Chamber of Commerce did not attend. So I didn't see that they were that interested. But anyway, the staff was good. They were in a good mood, and they did provide us stuff. And so they first wanted to talk about the adoption of the general plan on 2011, more affectionately called for us, One Valley, One Vision. And talking about it provided a vision that guides future development. That's what a general plan does. And then I didn't catch this at the meeting, but I got to ask this question. It says that it provides maximum floor area ratios, which is density, but then it says maximum lot coverage requirements, and maximum lot coverage requirements for the planning area. So, in other words, it's talking about what the maximum density could be, establish goals and policies to implement the general plan, and promote goodwill, beautification, and all the other things that they wanted to do. So then they talked to us about June of 2013, when the comprehensive update to the UDCs were adopted. I think we all remember those. We talked about those. Those were the 700 pages of changes that the council didn't discuss. Remember, the one area that they did discuss was that if you paint your house the wrong color, they can go to jail. Remember that? So that's what was what they did in that discussion. And by the way, that triggered me to ask a question. And I'm going to have a meeting with Robert Newman tomorrow about this. I noticed that on the last council agenda, it said that they were going to adopt all of the new state building codes. Remember that? So my question to the staff was, I saw that at the last council meeting. Do you guys have a list of what all those changes are so we know how it's going to impact us? And they said, oh, that's not us. We're planning. You need building and safety. And I got a call from Newman's office, so I'm going to go talk to them. I'd like to see if they really have a list of the changes and whether they know how it's going to impact them. But anyway, it says that the new UDC established the creation of corridor plan, promote business, revitalize older commercial corridors, maintain the distinctive community character, and encourage pedestrian-oriented community. Now, they did say that they realized that the Soledad Canyon Corridor is not a pedestrian thoroughfare, that it is a motorized thoroughfare, and that they understood the difference. And in August of 2013, the Lyons Avenue Corridor Plan was adopted and by the city. So what they wanted to show you about what they were doing. It showed the Lyons Avenue Corridor. It showed different building structures. You can see that some of them are like a little, this is, I think, is the bowling alley with the big sign. And what kind of architecture people wanted. Talked about it being east of I-5 and west of Newhall Avenue, 112 acres. Construction from the 60s to the early 90s with 18 bus stops along that one corridor. And they did a lot of public outreach. So when they talked about interactive community codes, they said they wanted to seek input and interaction from the community and create a community-driven plan. Now, part of this situation here in Canyon Country, particularly on the Soledad Canyon Corridor, is we kind of been experimented with. And you remember that the Shangri-La Shopping Center, where they purposely put all the buildings facing inside to the parking lot and the back of the buildings facing the street. And they got a lot of discussion about that because it wasn't exactly widely appreciated. And then where the old Shell station was, they did it a different way. They put the frontage of the buildings toward the street, but the parking behind it. And then at Camp Plenty, they built one after that, which was traditional, with the parking in front, buildings in back, facing the street. So it was a little bit confusing as to how we were going to create and maintain a unique identity for the corridor when the corridor is so eclectic. It's got so many different kinds of things. And then they talked about creating such things as public spaces, plazas, squares, and open space, and enhanced landscaping. So one of the things that came up in the discussions of the Lyons Corridor, because I went there as well, and for enhancing and improving the corridor was that when you develop, realize nothing is going to happen until the property owners decide they want to redevelop that land. And then if you meet their requirements, you get parking reductions. Now, I got to tell you, I don't think we got too much parking now. And the thing that they keep telling us is that doesn't mean parking is going to get less than it is today, because the county, the city parking requirements are in excess of what the county required. So even if they reduce the amount that they're requiring, they're going to have more parking than you have now. Right. But as I remember from the Lions Corridor discussion, some of the things that they didn't talk about in here was the fact that they have some new concepts that Ed Colley is going to love. Okay? I don't know if he knows it yet, but he's going to love it. And because he just told me about this before the meeting, so I'm really appreciative of it. I love handicapped spaces. I think people that are handicapped deserve to be able to be closer to their store. And I hate it when people that aren't handicapped park in a handicapped spot. Right? That's just wrong. But now they want to give reserved spots closer to the stores to people that drive electric cars. I think that's to reduce fossil fuel consumption by eliminating wear to shoe leather. All right. So in the Lions Corridor plan, they had an increased amount and a variety of signs and a streamlined approval process. So now we come to the Soledad Canyon Corridor plan. And it basically is, it goes from approximately, it's a little bit the other side of Sierra Highway, coming back all the way through Camp Plenty. And it's only being discussed for commercial space. If you can see, the lines always exclude residential. So it's 121 acres, 1.45 million square feet of commercial, 115 parcels, and 70 property owners. And we're going to talk about what you like and what you don't. So here was the here was the kind of analysis they were going to do. They wanted to focus on interaction between the public and them and talk about building types, frontage types, architecture, setbacks, landscaping, signage, and improvements. And so this was the meeting. You can see on the first slide, I stole that bottom right-hand picture out of here. But they had the stuff all along the walls and up and down. They had them all around the room. This is in the meeting room in the Joanne Darcy Library. Had them all the way around the outside of the room. Had them up and down the table in the middle. Had lots of staff there to help you and give you more dots if you ran out of dots or you couldn't see any dots anymore. And it was a very friendly meeting. I thought it went pretty good. So here's some of the results. And the green area were people who said they liked the overall architecture of the corridor plan. And the red were the people who disliked the overall architecture of the corridor plan. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, if we go in just about anywhere and ask people if they like it, it'd have to be a very special place for everybody to like.
That's the existing architecture.
Correct. That's the existing architecture. So they said, identify the land uses that are consistent with your vision for the Soledad Canyon Road Corridor Plan. You had places to put dots and stuff, and people said, in blue, I want restaurants. That's a consistent thing. And in purple, that's retail. And in kind of red or orange there, orange I guess, is entertainment, and green is wine bars. And in parentheses there, in parentheses where it talks about wine bars, it talks about sales and consumption only. What else is there? I think that sometimes when you ask people questions without any context, sometimes you get fun answers. It's really cool. Anyway, there was some. They had an idea wall, and talking about the corridor. And one was to plant more trees. One was to landscape the parking lots, improve the curb appeal, empty the trash cans. That's a good idea. Let me see some interesting ones here. Incorporate community centers. Include outdoor areas such as patios and outdoor dining. I thought, doesn't the hot dog place by Edward Cinema have tables outside for outdoor dining? That's Cupid's. Cupid's has outdoor dining now. Create a pedestrian feel. Close, that's what I love. Close the driveways onto Soledad and provide access from the side streets. In some cases, my answer to that is, what side streets? Can you get out of Goodwill on a side street? No. But anyway, you know that some of the questions, some of the things that are going to get proposed are not going to be doable. And I think it's always, wait till we talk about the Whites Canyon corridor and we talk about what people have suggested for that. But anyway, here in 2013, you can see that the last bullet in 2013 is the October 23rd meeting, the first public outreach meeting at the Canyon Country Library. There'll be another outreach meeting next year, January 15th. The second public outreach meeting at the Canyon Country Library. And then between January and September, 9 months, they will draft release of a plan document. And then they'll have some discussions about that. And when you get all the way down the end, this thing doesn't go into effect until 2015. So we'll be talking about and advertising the January 15th meeting. And it would be a good thing to go and talk to the staff about what you think the corridor should look like. So there it is. This is the gist of it. January 15th, 2014 is the second public outreach at the Canyon Country Library, and September the 15th is the draft release of the plan. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going to occur, and it ends on February the 26th. 2015. Yes, sir.
Is there a time for the January 15th when they can meet?
That's a good question. It's not on here. Do we remember what time it was last one? 7? 7? Yeah. It's in the evening. It's not at 10 o'clock in the morning. I wonder, let me think about that for a minute. I think I know a lot of people aren't going to be there. I'll talk to them about that. That's true. That's very astute. Well, while I was there, I met the lady that is supposedly heading up the Whites Canyon Corridor beautification plan. And they're telling us that the Santa Clarita City Council has identified beautification of Whites Canyon Corridor as a priority. And I wish they would have done it when we could all hear that. So the first step that they are taking is to engage the community to discuss beautification ideas. And staff is working directly with small groups of residents. What do you got, Judy?
I have handouts.
Woohoo! You don't by chance have the handout of the suggestions, do you? Yeah. Could I have one of those?
Absolutely.
I needed this. This is just too much fun. Thank you. So thank you, Judy. So, oh, you got more comments, yeah. All right. So they're discussing this with a small group of residents to discuss what they want. And the staff told us when we met with them, we actually signed up, put our name down, set our email address, listed our phone number, was told we were going to get a call for a meeting early next year, and lo and behold, Merle get a call and says, let's have a meeting what day was it, Merle? Monday. So we go there on Monday. It was at Todd Longshore. Yes.
In the cold.
In the cold, no meeting room, out at Todd Longshore Park. The only thing that I thought was interesting was that some of the staff didn't have a coat. They were cold. And they were happy to meet in someone's living room, at a local park, or nearby at a community gathering place. I wonder if this is considered a community gathering place. We'll have to ask them. But you know, when you start asking people for suggestions, and you don't constrain it at all, and we're talking about White's Canyon, you get such suggestions as on this list. A fountain to distinguish the area. Make White's Canyon look like McBean Parkway. Consider options to underground the utilities. Let me see, what's some other ones? Then, of course, you have some people just complain. Traffic signal at Steinway and White's has a very long cycle. What about building a dog park? I guess that's right in White's Canyon. So what you got to see when you go through here is that people get kind of crazy talking about what they want and realize that we're going to have to, if you live by White's Canyon, you're going to have to pay for whatever they put in. And so that discussion hasn't occurred yet. So here's the White's Canyon corridor. It starts down here. This time they're going all the way to Soledad, and they're going all the way up the hill. And here in the middle of the hill, approximately somewhere right in here to somewhere right in there, there already are medians. So I asked, and they said that they already have a landscape maintenance district established, and it might make this divided into two separate districts. And I asked the question, how big is the district going to be? Because that tells me how much money they're going to have to work with. And they said about 2,500 homes. And I'm trying to figure out how far away from White's Canyon they got to go to get 2,500 homes involved there. But we'll see. They'll have to look at that some more. So really what's going to happen when you go through all of this, look at their paperwork, go through everything that they're discussing. They're really discussing this in two halves. They're discussing medians. Medians are something that would cost about $62, $68 per home per year. And what would they do if they used a city standard design? So that's when they said that the size of the thing would be approximately 2,500 homes. That would throw out about $155,000 that would be used to maintain that median for perpetuity, forever. And then we said, well, who pays to build a median? And then we got some weird answers. At one point, it was they were going to go and take it out of the landscape maintenance district. They were going to appropriate it from there. But then I started asking questions about how the landscape maintenance district is segregated, which portions of it pay for what. And then the story changed. And so now we're talking about, even though that they have this large 2008 citywide district established for major thoroughfares, each piece of the major thoroughfare has its own accountable section, and that accountable section only pays for things within the special benefit area around them. So I think if this goes through, I'd like to see another financial accountability panel for LMDs, right? I mean, we saw what happened at open space. Now let's take a look at LMDs and make sure that the money is going where it should go. Now the rest of it is where you're getting all these ideas for, whether or not we want to put a fountain on the side panel, or what we want to do, because the side panel are the things that are not defined. Those are the things that we're looking at it, and it could be right at the start, medians and nothing else. And then it could be, we talked about, well, what about moving a sidewalk over 3 feet and then planting instead of, what about who actually owns the chain link fences going up? Is it the property owners or is it the city? And if it's the city, can you take out the chain link fences that have a block wall right behind them? So we kicked around a bunch of that stuff, and they're going to go and look at stuff. But those things would have to be costed. So it's I don't know what's going to happen when they go talk to the Whites Canyon residents. They're going to say, well, you got to pay $62 a year for medians, and then I don't know what's going to be another $60, $100 for side panels. We'll have to see what happens. Realize that the city has, last time when the city went to Whites Canyon to do this, was the first time they tried to sell an LMD. They vacillated back and forth about what they were going to do. They changed the size of the district several times. If you would have went to any of those meetings, there was very little trust of what the city had in mind, and it got trounced. So we'll have to wait and see what happens this time. But at the same time, I started thinking about the Golden Valley Bridge widening. Yes?
The $64 yearly fee to standard one, as you're driving down Soledad, if you look at the new landscaping in front of Metro Via, that is the standard, you can pay $64.
Yeah. Okay. So I started thinking about the bridge widening, because you know what? All of a sudden, everything seems to be dragging on. I talked to the guys at the city before, and I said, when are you going to have this done? Don't you have a plan? And they quite frankly said to me, we don't want to tell you the plan, because then you'll hold us to the plan. And I said, well, that's what a plan is for. But we all know that plans change. We know that there can be some changes in these plans. I mean, they're not all going to stay exactly the same. But when all of a sudden they all start to change, I start to wonder. So here, because remember, even in the Whites Canyon Corridor plan, we were told last year at this time, no, the year before, that it was going to start early. No, it was last year at this time. It was going to start early this year, and then when it didn't start early this year, it was going to start late this year. And then when I asked at the meeting at the library, it was going to be next year before they really get moving. And so if I look at the bridge widening, we've been asking for that for I don't know how long. So in 2011, toward the end of 2011, we said, when are you going to widen that bridge? And they told us that, if you remember, that the money to widen that bridge was supposed to come from bridge and thoroughfare fees from the Golden Valley Ranch project, when the Golden Valley Ranch project reached a certain percentage of occupancy, and that hadn't happened yet. But that they were going after a grant where the money would be available in 2015, but they were going to fund the money ahead of time to go make this happen. And we said, okay, when are you going to start construction? And he went, hold on, got to design it first. So they put out an RFP to a company to design it, and for all of 2012, they went off happily designing a bridge. At the end of 2012, we said, okay, bridge is designed, when are you going to build it? Well, we got the design back, And we submitted to Caltrans, and Caltrans wants to change the on and off ramps. So we can't start. We got to go work on that design. So from that point until September, they tell me September they finally met with Caltrans, and in October they got feedback from Caltrans, and now they think they can complete negotiation and possibly have this out for bid, well, maybe in the spring or summer of next year. Well, you know what? That means it's another year away, right? So, I understand plans change. I understand that they don't want to be held to commitments. God help them. But some of the commitments have got to come through, and they can't all be bad. And so that's what I'm saying. What message is the city sending? And I'll tell you, I went to the Soledad Corridor meeting, and I was very impressed. Staff was really great. And this was my quote that came in the signal after that meeting. It was said that, I appreciate the city taking a comprehensive look at the area. I'm very encouraged at the activity because it does show the city's interest in the east side and Canyon Country. And it seems like if I say something nice, they don't like it. If I say something critical, they don't like it. And I'm trying to figure out what's happening and why do all these plans change. So realizing there was a city that's reluctant to meet with us, but they want to meet with small groups in the middle of the day. So you go ahead and you decide what message you're sending. I think that's pretty obvious as well.